Oh, you're a lands player? Well, name every land. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Edison has asked me to play with white-green lands. This list is by Delthar, who has a couple 5-0s with this, and I believe that they are active on the Lands Discord server if you are interested in talking to them directly about the deck. The biggest difference between this and most traditional lands decks that you're going to see is an entire playset of Freestrider Lookout. Got Reach, which has some upside, such as blocking Tameo in the current format. And whenever you commit a crime, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And it only triggers once each turn. As a refresher, committing a crime is targeting your opponent, anything they control, or a card in their graveyard. So, with cards like Ghost Vacuum, Rishadanport, Wasteland, Maze of Ith, you can repeatedly trigger Freestrider Lookout to get a lot of value. And looking 5 cards deep is pretty good. You know, that's beyond a ponder in terms of value. That's like a once upon a time, potentially every turn. And I do mean every turn, as it triggers once each turn, but you could do it on your turn and then again on your opponent's turn as well, potentially chaining lands into lands for some really cool effects. Seeing as the current format is very combo heavy, with roughly 50% of the metagame being combo, Sphere of Resistance in the main deck, as well as an abundance of anti-graveyard hate cards in the sideboard, are probably necessary to keep up with opposing combo decks. We are very light on true white sources in the deck, but Swords to Plowshares as a sideboard option can help us with things that Maze of Ith maybe by itself would not stop. Otherwise, we just have a few generic goodies rounding out the deck list, nothing that an experienced Legacy player would be all that surprised to see. As far as some hot tech goes, if you are not familiar with Talon Gates of Madara Uchiha, you really should be. This is a card that needs to be on your radar when you are playing against a crop rotation or Elvish Reclaimer deck. It can phase out a creature to stop it from attacking. It can phase out your creature to save it from removal. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with this land. A primary concern that I have with the deck going into the league here is that we don't actually have all that many colored sources here. And this can make colored mana, but it's relatively slow at doing so. So if you need green mana or white mana specifically, there's not actually all that much of it, especially if you are looking for one particular color. So just be aware that there might be some games where we end up playing a fair Urza's Saga game plan in the early game, and then pivot into casting our green spells a little bit later on. But since we are playing so many lands overall in the deck, hopefully it's not that hard to hit the colors that we need, and we won't always need the colors immediately on turn 1. With that being said, if you need some Freestrider Lookouts or anything else so you can play this in your local F&M, assuming you own a Tabernacle, which, I've talked enough about Tabernacle on this channel. Like, clearly everyone's got a playset by now, right? Consider checking out my sponsor, TOAmagic.com. Tales of Adventure is an awesome store. I like them a lot. Good people behind the store. Look for this purple banner at your in-person events, and there's usually some pretty good deals on, like, legacy, old school, vintage stuff there. But if you're ordering online, promo code ThrabenU will save you a little bit on your order directly. With that being said, let's jam another league with lands. I'm sure you're not complaining. It's always fun. I have a hand of Magic the Gathering cards. I am not sure that I have a concrete plan for what this hand does and how it wins the game here. Like, this is quite slow. I can't Urza Saga on turn 1 without something like a Mox or an Ancient Tomb. I guess I could gamble on Savannah crop rotation into Ancient Tomb on turn 2 and play Urza Saga on turn 1, and if we dodge Wasteland and counterspells, that's fine. Otherwise, it's sketch. We'll see how it goes. Bloodstained Mire. Basic. Did we just die? We did not just die. That we can work with. So I probably need to crop rotation at sorcery. That's actually very helpful too. I think I crop rotation at sorcery speed here. Play around potentially cards like Opposition Agent that could stop my searching. We're just going to say fuck it, pick up a Maze of Ith, and go from there. We are probably going to play a very slow game here. Second land drop. Don't even bother attacking with the Goyf. That is overall fine with me. Oh, my phasing rolls. Is it phasing is its owner's own upkeep? I'm just going to double check that. Yeah, it is their own upkeep. I don't need to do anything with Talon Gates here. Let's just port Vacuum and pass. You gotta fetch Bowmaster? Yeah, that is not unexpected here. I'll take the one. Third land drop, so things like Opposition Agent are now live. Maze of Ith the Goyf. I'm at 17. Do a little tidying up over here. Drink this. Or actually, I have an instant right now. Sphere? Am I into that? I don't really think I'm into that more than I am just making Urza Saga tokens and porting my opponent. This 3 mana to deploy more creatures is pretty relevant. And I might want to cast my own expedition map, more importantly. Not this turn, but probably like 2 turns down the line. I think it becomes relevant. Opponent thinks about Bowmaster, but ultimately junks it. I'm probably going to be ghost vacuuming that at end of turn. Maze the Goyf. It's yet another Bowmaster. I'll take 1 from that, and then I'll take 3 combat damage. Going to 13. I will junk a Bowmaster. Oops, all spheres. We're just gonna make a token here, I think. I think I want to be able to potentially use this Wasteland on this land a little bit later. I think I'm just gonna play Talon Gates of Madara here. How about we phase out that token? Oh no, it came back. Wow, an actual factual Inquisition of Kozilek. We don't see very many of those in Legacy anymore. I think it makes a lot of sense in the current metagame. 4 Thoughtseizes might not be enough to fight off opposing combo decks. So I lose my map. Opponent is willing to bash in. We'll Maze the Goyf. I'm going to attempt to make an Urza Saga token, and there's a decent chance that my opponent is just going to kill that on sight with this 2 mana here. Yeah, sure. So I will take 4. I'm at 9. Going to vacuum a sorcery out of graveyard. Life from Loam is cool a little bit further down the line. So let's do this. Actually, maybe Life from Loam is cool right now. Shadow Spear is sort of interesting as a way to stabilize the game. Mox Diamond's also real sweet, though. Yeah, let's Mox Diamond. Let's discard Wasteland. Play Urza's Saga. Cast Life from the Loam with 3 targets. And I can work towards finding another Maze of Ith or a Tabernacle or whatever that lets me fully stabilize versus these things. It's another Edict, unfortunately for me. I will take 4 more damage here after mazing this. I'm at 5. I will vacuum some stuff out of my opponent's graveyard. I don't know if they can use it. So this makes token. I could go, this makes token. I could make land drop and cast Life from the Loam, but not actually play the land that I get from it. I think I'll just take a natural draw this turn. The Illusion of Choice. Wastelanding my opponent's okay. I think my mana is more valuable than their mana, though, because I want to be able to Life from the Loam plus play land drop. Makes my spheres a little awkward. Turn's actually quite tough. I think I'm going to put Wasteland into play and not use it as a Wasteland. A little weird that my own mana is tight so that I don't actually want to play my sphere right now. If we make it another turn or 2, the spheres will turn the corner and become good. But there is a fear that I just get tempoed out. I've used my Expedition map. I can't search that up with Saga. And get Shadow Spear on my next turn. Thoughtseize, you've got it. I lose a sphere. Everybody's coming to party. I will make a friend. We'll Maze of Ith, the big one. We'll block the second biggest. Hello? Hello? Okay, there we go. Block the second biggest one. Take 2. Go to 3. More other Goif. This one, the Ghost Vacuum, does a pretty good job at keeping in check. Junk Thoughtseize there. I think I am okay dredging. Hey, there's another Maze of Ith. Fantastic. We will go 1 and 2. Make a token. Mox Diamond is better short term. Shadow Spear is much better medium term. I think I'm going to pick up Shadow Spear. Go 2 mana. Cast a Life from the Loam with 3 targets. Put down another Maze of Ith. And pass the turn. I am, in theory, not taking more damage now. That's hopefully fine. Alright, cool. So we get a turn of Breathing Room. We'll Vacuum and Edict out. I'm okay dredging this. More Maze of Ith. Fantastic. I guess I need to plan out this turn. So I want 2 mana to equip one of these. 1 mana Wasteland. I think I can always Wasteland. It actually might be better to 2 mana Rishadan Port. I want 3rd Life from the Loam. Let's go Urza's Saga here. Let's equip one of these with Shadow Spear and port my opponent down. Yeah, I think I like that. I think I have control of this game now. And I think once I have one more token, it's pretty safe for me to Shadow Spear attack in with one of my creatures. Fantastic. Do a little eat. Take a draw step. There's an Ancient Tomb. It's not super good right now. Not gonna think too hard about this from here. We'll send in with this, see what my opponent wants to do about it. Yeah, honestly, fair. Ooh, margins were really tight on that game. It feels weird to me because it feels like my opponent bottomed out, but like they only have 2 lands in play at the end of the game here. Actually, how much stuff is in exile? Oh, I can't see it anymore. Never mind. So I love Swords to Plowshares here. I like Endurance here. I think that lines up well versus my opponent's graveyard-oriented nonsense. Ghost Vacuum's great. Sphere of Resistance is, like, Schrodinger's good, where it is, like, very, very good sometimes. Like, once I get to the point where I can start, like, Rishadan porting my opponent or whatever, like, Sphere of Resistance becomes very strong. But I think when I'm on the draw here, I'm going to be under the gun a little bit too much at the beginning of the game to want that. Crop Rotation, Pithing Needle, Opponent might have Wastelands, which are relevant. Opponent could have something like Liliana of the Veil, which could be relevant. I'm assuming that there's 2 to 4 opposition agents in the 75. Going down crop rotations to not get got by that is, like, very, very reasonable. But crop rotation for Maze of Ith in particular does matter. Yeah, I'm not sure where I fall on crop rotation. I think I'm going to trim a couple of Freestrider Lookouts since I am bringing in 3 more threats. Oh, buddy, this is a hand. So Ghost Vacuum is very good. Exploration is very good. Life from the Loam is very good. Not having a green source, pretty bad. Rishadan Port, pretty okay. It is possible that if I keep this hand, I don't play Magic, but Ghost Vacuum is a singleton, and having it in my opening hand is kind of a big deal. I am going to do something I don't usually do, and I'm going to keep a risky 7. I think there's some solid merit to this one. Stalker is fine. Opponent on the beatdown plan. Greenland. Greenland. Not Greenland. Or into Vacuum. Second land drop, not a fetch land for the purpose of descending, so that's good. I'll take 2 here. We'll Vacuum. This probably means that there's a Bowmaster coming. Fuck yeah, that's what we want to see. So we will Mox Diamond. Discard a Wasteland. I guess I want to dredge Life from the Loam. And then play Exploration plus bonus land next turn. But I don't port if I do that. But I would like to find Maze of Ith as soon as possible. I really don't want a 3-drop hitting play on my opponent's turn. I think I need the 3 looks at Maze of Ith. And that's my turn. Get Bowmastered. I am at 17. On this hand, my opponent has the threats that aren't impacted by my graveyard hate, which is inconvenient for me. And another one. Donde está la Tabernacle? El Tabernacle? Unclear. Life from the Loam. Yavimaya. No bueno. So 1 and 2. Land drop 1. Exploration. Land drop 2. Pass. Upkeep port. Try to keep a 3-drop from coming down. I am like very solidly progressing into a mid game that I want to get into, but I might die before we meaningfully get there. I have some very, very high upside lines that can happen where like I dredge into multiple Life from the Looms, or like a Tabernacle. Sorry, dredge into multiple mazes, or dredge into something like Maze Tabernacle. But, you know, the beatdown is fucking here, and it is bad for me. Rough. So that was 4 threats, all of which aren't impacted by Ghost Vacuum. Hand did not line up well. Again, hand was borderline on being a mulligan, for sure. I remove one of these with a removal spell. I take 2, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Tabernacle is an out. My opponent keeps 2 2/2s. I go to 1. I'm playing on a singleton out plus crop rotation. I think I'm going to let my opponent look at my deck. I'm not deterministically dead. Little thing here, though, I think if you're going to surgically extract Life from the Loam, I think you do it on your own turn before something like a Tranquil Thicket can just interrupt that. I think I was tapped out. Unfortunately, it is an Urza's Saga as a draw, and we are just dead on board here. Sphere of Resistances become slightly better when I'm on the play again. I could play more Freestrider Lookout just as a dude who can sit in play and block things like Bowmasters. Addition map is actually a little slow here. I'm going to trim 1 crop rotation and just play some extra creatures. 3 endurances. All right. So we're probably doing Lush Portico on 1 while also playing out Mox Diamond. Oh, well, you know. Yeah, that can chill on Graveyard. I can draw that whenever I want. Let's Mox Diamond. I think I'm just going to keep the extra green colored source here. I don't think anything's going to happen to Mox Diamond, but on the off chance that my opponent were to do something like a Null Rod that would disrupt this, I want to have the second green source more than I think I need Wasteland immediately, especially since my opponent is just going to play basic Swamp so often. Mishra's Bauble is something that we hadn't seen yet, but it makes sense in the deck. It grows the Goyfs, and it's Descend for the Stalker. So if my opponent cracks that right there, they can take out the Life from the Loam. Otherwise, I can just dredge it and draw it. Huh? Yeah, so my opponent is playing in a way where if I have a Tranquil Thicket style card, I absolutely get to blow them out by them not doing it on their own turn. Okay, so now they can see what my draw is. Exploration, not good at this exact time, but generally speaking, a quite powerful card. And oddly, I am probably going to be the beatdown this match. Unless my opponent just has a massive pile of removal that stops 3 endurances. Alright, here we go. Yep. 2 Voidwalkers, sure. Well, that's 6 power versus the 3 that I was intending on putting in play, so I may retract my previous statement. I do get the first attack, though, and I haven't dealt any self-damage, so that's cool. I will drop an Exploration. Graveyard not doing much as of right now. Opponent's at 15. Don't get to ambush these with Endurance. Shadow is basically unblockable. We'll drop a new Endurance. We'll see if we're eating a removal spell, or if a Bowmaster is coming, or what. Yavimaya. And in for 6. Bowmaster gains 6 life is very good here. Seems like we're going to see it. I am at 13 from that ping. Oh, Bowmaster gained 3 life instead. I think I hold this Yavimaya. I don't think I need to play it out yet for any reason. So my opponent is probably rationalizing that this 1 extra point of damage from a Bowmaster is the difference between a 2 and 3 turn clock. So I understand not attack. Okay, yeah, there we go. Not making the double block who plays around the 3rd endurance. We'll do a block there. I will take 6. One more creature coming into play is scary for me. Fatal Push. Okay. Fuck. Now I need a live draw. 4 damage? 4 damage. That can kill a Shadow Duder. Yeah. Found it. Opponent's at 6. We'll pass the turn. This still might be tight. So there's 2 ways I can play this. I can play this in the way where my opponent can't go land drop, shrink my creatures, or I can play this in the way where I don't die to Bowmaster Ping. Because 5 versus 6 damage is a relevant difference. My opponent has so many lands in deck, it is probably correct to play around land drop here, rather than play around one of 3 remaining Bowmasters, because this shrinking my creatures stops me from having lethal. So, I'm at 1. You block. Oh shit, that's 2 of them. You can block. Uh-oh. That sure is not doing anything. I am always dead. Unless my opponent were to block neither one of these creatures. Alright, opponent goes to 3, and then I am always dead to the backswing. That was a very good game. Very, very close. Today's video is sponsored by moxfield.com, just the best place to keep your online deck lists, and the reason I say that is it just has so much functionality. So for example, let's take a look at some random legacy deck here. You can click on your various 2-drop slots and you can see what % chance you have of casting various things on curve, and you can get a breakdown of your mana symbols and all of that stuff, and there's a lot more here than just this. Consider checking it out. This is a hand with a lot of late game value. I think I'm going to keep it and hope that I draw some extra land off the top. This is not enough mana for my deck, oddly. Never didn't have it. So let's go. I guess I want both Seiju in graveyard to potentially bring back later. Actually, maybe I just bin Maze of Ith. It not producing mana is a really big deal right now. Yeah, let's go for this. If it doesn't work, I can Freestrider Lookout next turn. Oh shit, it just worked. Usually doesn't happen. See what opponent's got. Just gonna be a Surveil land, I guess. Ooh, we're probably playing against Show and Tell, in which case a Sphere of Resistance is not that scary for my opponent. So we will go land drop and put an Expedition Map into play, passing the turn. Expedition Map can represent Caracas. We're afraid of Ancient Tomb or City of Traders into Show and Tell here. I will put a Lookout into play. Cruel. Absolutely cruel. I have to sacrifice my creature. I will sacrifice Freestrider Lookout. I can get Maze of Ith to kind of help with Archon. Emphasis on kind of. How am I dealing with that longer term? I think I know the answer to it. Yeah, the answer is I'm not. I have to, like, Tabernacle, remove every land that would also involve Ghost Quarter. Whoa. Get Maze of Ith. Play Maze of Ith. I am very unhappy about what happens next. Archon of Cruelty is very, very good versus Maze. I think I discard Boseiju first. Caracas hedges better against follow-up threats in the future. No more. No more. No more. Please no. Okay. It's cool. Ugh. I should really just concede. So the problem here is that once my opponent has multiple red mana and sneak attack available, life's just bad. My Caracas becomes a lot less impactful. And if my opponent has something like Atraxa just digging a bunch of cards is in and of itself a problem. Uh-huh. Yep. Oh boy. Uh-huh. So my issue now is that if I bounce Emrakul, my opponent puts it back in, so I have to let my opponent annihilate 6 me if I want to not die to the Emrakul, at which point, like, we're so donezo. Containment Priest, Disruptor Flute, great. Force of Vigor, Choke, playable, Swords to Plowshares. I don't, like, really want to, but I probably need to. Let's assume that Shadow Spear is bad, Ghost Vacuum is bad. I think if Swords to Plowshares becomes my out, I don't try to Tabernacle anymore. I don't know that Sphere does enough, especially if I want to be able to hold these things up. If my opponent just leads the game on a handful of basics, I think my Sphere of Resistance eventually just gets overwhelmed. I think I'm going to do other reaction. I want swords, and I also want to play Choke. I need 3 more cuts. I can cut a Bojuka Bog. I won't miss that. I could go down on crop rotation. Hitting Caracas is cool. Hitting Maze is cool. Running into counter spells, not cool. Force of Vigor for sneak attack. And potentially Omniscience. Oh, that's 62. I did not finish cutting cards. Whatever. The sideboard plan is perfect. Haters will disagree. This is a hand. I will assume that the average draw step makes this significantly better, and Containment Priest is a card that might not be on my opponent's radar as something that is in my sideboard. So it is possible that this is difficult to answer if it is not countered specifically. Yeah, don't mind that as a draw. This lets me hold up Containment Priest while keeping my opponent from surveilling in the short term. And I will go for Containment Priest at end of turn, and we will just start trying to be the beatdown. All right, it's in play. That's cool. I think we're just fully in the beatdown role here. I can't successfully port down stuff yet, so I think we are just going to play the Lookout, and then I have Lookout Rishadan Port to start digging towards something relevant. Ah, damn it. Ancient Tomb's scary. That can mean the One Ring is coming. Double basics. Show and tell. I have nothing to put in. Yeah. Okay. Could be worse. Not dead yet. Brainstorm. Ponder. Get a shuffle for that Brainstorm. Look at some fresh cards, and that happens. Okay. Not dead yet. Okay. Freestrider Lookout on my own turn, because the Omniscience makes it so that their lands don't actually matter? Yeah. Weird. Ordeco over Urza Saga, I think. I want looks at things that answer Omniscience. No. So let's put that into Graveyard. Put up Caracas. So Containment Priest is not at its best right now, because my opponent can just cast the large creatures. It may just be that I need to tap out from Caracas to advance my own game plan. I'm not going to do that, but I recognize that that is possibly correct. My opponent has protection from everything right now. Lose a life, and I probably get buried by the One Ring. I was worried enough about my opponent just casting the One Ring, so it alongside Omniscience is very spooky. That is an incredible draw. All right. Now, I do not believe that my Pithing Needle is going to resolve. I fully do not believe that it is going to resolve. My opponent has 7 cards in hand, and they're not things that are killing me, and they're not cantrips, so counterspells is kind of the obvious thing. I'm going to give them a chance to counter a Life from the Loam here. Ooh, baby! No, counter it. Gustavo. Okay. So my opponent casts Force of Will. I think they also have a Force of Negation, though. So we're going to go for broke here. This is the hardest of hard reads. I believe that there is a follow-up Force of Negation. I'm wrong. Okay, I accept. I could have tapped this better. All right. Okay. We have successfully stopped the One Ring, but I tapped this in a way where I didn't leave up Swords to Plowshares, which is dumb on my part. Hopefully that does not matter. Just objective mistake. It's like a big deal, because like this is the turn where I either die or don't die, right? Because otherwise my opponent is just dead to what comes next. Meltdown. Rough. So now my opponent gets 3 more looks at a broken creature. So attack is a thing that could kill me immediately, but I think I want to keep this in play. I'm gonna get rid of the priest. Discard my Life from the Loam. Fuck. All right. Well, that was a pretty good set of draws off the One Ring, because that was both of those creatures, presumably, unless one was drawn for a turn. GG's. All right. I am in for this hand. We don't have the exploration that I might love to make it really pop off. I'm gonna finish my sentence I was going to say, but assuming our opponent doesn't just lead on basic lands, the multiple wastelands life from the Loam start is quite powerful. So we will Mox Diamond. Don't really think it matters what I discard too awful much here. Good luck, Teddy. Teddy just played against Brian and then queued into me. Going through the legacy grinder here. Good testing, Teddy. Good luck. Ooh, I take back the luck. Undo. I said undo the luck. Alright, so in good news, we're not dying to this immediately. I do have Maze of Ith to help out, but my triple Life from the Loam double Wasteland start has been hard countered by just the nature of my opponent's deck. I wonder if Mono Black did well in a challenge recently. That's two rounds in a row we are facing down a Mono Black aggro deck. Oops, all Dalthy Voidwalkers. And no land drop here, so opponent's hand is full of gas. Well, I mean, yep. It's not like I'm casting these Life from the Loams. Currently taking 3 damage per turn cycle. I would really like an Urza's Saga. That's the thing that lets me work towards Shadow Spear Stabilize. That's what I need. Problem here is that if my opponent continues to play threats, I fall behind. Now Rishadenport becomes good. Nope. Just more Wastelands, though. So now we could see end of turn Bowmaster, which we do. Is not good. Opponent is going wide of my cards here, my like Singleton Maze of Ith. So I stop a little bit of damage. Ugh. Yeah. Eddie, this is bullying. Take 5. I'm at 9. Take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 next turn. The part was fine if it was going to stop other creatures from coming down. I think it is just too late now. Tabernacle's not an out anymore. It's 1 turn cycle, though. I am just going to play it. Just tap down a swamp. Maze 1 creature here. I am at 2. Basic Forest does not do it. Draws lined up super poorly. Triple Life from the Loam, triple Wasteland versus 3 basics and 2 Dalthies. No bueno. Swords, yes. Endurance, yes. Ithing Needle, no. I think I cut Spheres before. Possible I could cut Life from the Loams. But they do seem kind of important to my land-based deck. I think the Spheres are very good if I play them on turn 1 on the play. But I only have 5 ways to do that. I don't know that that is enough. I'm going to do this and then trim some things that run into Opposition Agent again. Yeah. I'm going to need a little more here, but I have a little selection. I'm just going to keep that. It's not really my ideal draw right now, but I think it's good enough to keep. We don't want to see a Dark Ritual start here. Cool. Land drop, nobody phases out. Maze of Ith and pass. I do not have Swords and Endurance in the same turn cycle here. Womp cycle. If my opponent has reanimation spells, I get value off of Endurance, which would be cool. Second land drop. Emperor of Bones. I will let my opponent take that thing out of graveyard, and then I will just Swords the Emperor. Opponent does not take it out of graveyard. Well, then I will. Get out. Ooh. Yeah? Yeah? We have accidentally made a monster. Opponent's at 16. I will potentially Swords Emperor of Bones, but it's not really a problem right now. Third land drop. Goyf is fine and good. Nothing's in graveyard right now. We will Swords that. This is currently a 0-1, by the way. I can even attack into it safely. Yeah. Send on in. Opponent is at 12. All past the turn. I have Swords available if I need it. Oh, now I have to decide. The Emperor is probably more annoying, but it's a probably situation. Because if I were to get Wastelanded and this becomes unchecked, it is more of a problem. And like this now has power and toughness. Maze it. I take no damage. It's another one. Don't love those in multiples. Do I have another Surveil land? I think I only had Lush Portico, yeah. So for Field of the Dead purposes, we'll just chill here. Rashadan Port. Okay. I think I will hold back. Port my opponent. That's fine. Damage is negligible when I am at 27. So I believe I'm just going to trade with one of these and maze the other one, and assume that I will draw other reasonable cards over the course of this game. This keeps my opponent's life total low-ish. Yeah, seems good. These Rashadan ports do not have ideal timing. So my opponent is now going to get scaling damage off these goyfs. They are going to just fuel each other, because one of them is now getting through. The one that has Animate Dead on it will be getting through. And this is where I need the Freestrider Lookout or Life from the Loam or something like that. Even another Endurance would be great. So 2 damage. Oh god, Archon of Cruelty. My opponent leaves in graveyard. Teddy? Teddy, let's talk about this. Teddy? Teddy? Absolutely fucking brutal. Uh-huh. I think my opponent has fully gone wide of what I am capable of stopping. Okay. If something was going to get me back into the game, it is this. Okay, I need another mana source. Oh, I guess if I hit Field of the Dead, there's reasons to not do that immediately. Alright, so Freestrider Lookout with 4 mana available. That's double Rashadan Port activation, so it doesn't need to be Ghost Quarter. So Freestrider Lookout, Rashadan Port once immediately. Get Urza's Saga. Not the Tabernacle I was hoping for. Yeah, I don't think I'm on outs anymore. Okay, I'm not on immediate outs. I could do some other things later. Then we will upkeep, do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 names. We'll take another Rashadan Port in case we draw another Freestrider Lookout, maybe. The Archon attack is so bad, though. My opponent could also get an Endurance here if they wanted. Oh, Teddy, you can get in with everything because the Archon kills this. So I lose this. I think I actually take 1 more point of damage and maze of this so that my opponent doesn't get the trigger. So I could be at 2 less life if Teddy gets in with Bowmaster and Orc Army token. Again, though, I don't really think I can come back from this. It's just too many creatures. I need Tabernacle plus a couple other cards. I'm only making a very small creature even with lifelink. It's just not going to do it. I don't want to play against this mono black aggro deck. It is just going faster than my interaction can keep up with. This is awkward. So we have Ancient Tomb Sphere of Resistance, which is great, but we're on the draw and we don't have green mana. With a green mana, this hand probably becomes very good. We actually get to set up Freestrider Lookout Rashadan Port. We have not been very good at drawing Freestrider Lookout and like getting that engine going this league. I don't think I'm going to keep this one. Just blind in the dark here. Ooh, shit. Okay. Mox Diamond, discard Maze, maybe play Yavimaya, cast Life from the Loam. A double Mox Diamond here. The fetch land's very good. The hand's 100% a keep. Mox, discard, Life from the Loam. Still have fetch land available. Yavimaya helps Maze, though. I think I'm going to get rid of Verdant Catacombs. Gets punished a little bit by Force of Negation, specifically. This is one of the fastest hands we've had all league. 1 Mox Diamond is good. 2 Mox Diamonds is you attaching the rocket ship to the back of your car and saying, don't worry, it's probably safe. Ponder is fine. No shuffle. We're going to start by playing a Dazable Mox Diamond here. Yeah. Guard Maze. Now I think maybe I'm just into wastelanding this and always denying the mana and not trying to get hyper exploration value immediately. So let's go bam. I really wanted to like play exploration, but I think I'm just going to take the no risk line, other than the line where my spell is countered and then my opponent has a mana source in play. Fuck yeah. The next turn is just wild Exploration plus life from the Loam, potentially wastelanding my opponent again. Let's pop out that graveyard. We will be needing it. Yeah. Hoo. Let's go land drop, exploration, then I'm playing around Spell Pierce. Now I get a secondary land drop. I will cast Life from the Loam with 2 targets. I, at this point, could drop Urza Saga and start trying to win the game. I think that's fine. Yeah, more hands like this, please. Notably, there is still some fear that my opponent is just something like Doomsday, and they will just kill me. Or Reanimator. Archon is a problem. I'm so fucking tired of Archon while playing Maids of Ith decks. Card's bullshit. Yes. I will discard an Ancient Tomb. Let's find a Tabernacle. That's fine. Tabernacle is the way that I beat Archon. It is a singleton. I get 3 looks at it with Life from the Loam every turn. Field of the Dead is interesting. Let's go Wasteland, Underground Sea, Life from the Loam, Wasteland, Field of the Dead, I think. 1 and 2. Land drop, Wasteland, Underground Sea, pass turn. And we are working towards Expedition map for Tabernacle. We do not want to see a basic land this turn, as that stops Tabernacle from killing Archon. That's not great either. But it means that I get to kill Archon in a minute. So hopefully that's fine. And we'll discard Field of the Dead. We're just a little ways away from Field of the Dead being relevant right now. Just like this far away. 2 mana to search. Yeah, I can dredge this. It's fine. Actually, I guess it's not fine to dredge that, because if I dredge my Expedition map, that's actually a huge problem. That was a very massive mistake that I did not get punished for. Yeah, that was super bad. Expedition map. Activate. Tabernacle. Play Tabernacle. Play Yavimaya. Life from the Loam. Field, Maze. Actually, let's think about these targets. So I could just get Saga. Saga, Wasteland, Maze. Not sure how much it actually matters. Alright, so I've made my land drops. My opponent loses their Archon. So next up, if I get another request, I would like to find Bojuka Bog to get rid of Archon. Because it can just get reanimated again. Let's start digging for that. So we are going to Wasteland the fetch land. Make my opponent choose what land they're going to get. They're probably going to choose a basic. Yep. Now I cast Life from the Loam. I want Rishadan Port here. Rishadan Port, Urza Saga, I don't know, Field of the Dead. Yeah. Play Port. That's second land. Now my opponent does not get main phase mana off of this anymore. They do get a basic swamp, which means that Reanimate is online. And a Brainstorm. Does it reanimate? Oh, that misses. That's great. Now my opponent doesn't get main phase black mana, and that's much more important. We'll keep dredging. We're looking for Bojuka Bog, preferably. Life from the Loam. Another port's great. Port, Maze, Wasteland, I guess. Bam. There's second port in play. Are we done? We are done. Wow. Oh, we beat the Archon. Did my opponent have a chance to play around that at any point? I think this got an Underground Sea. It needed to be black mana. And then there's not another fetch land all the way until this Polluted Delta, which got a basic. No, I don't think my opponent had the ability to play around that. Alright. Priest, Endurance, Swords, maybe? Needle out. Unsure if I actually want Spheres. Like, my opponent is ultimately a combo deck, but I definitely need to cast reactive spells that don't cost very much mana, like Swords and Endurance. Crop Rotation, for that matter. I'm not sure that I actually want to be on Spheres. I don't think I need Shadow Spear. I think I want to keep 2 non-Mox Diamond targets. I think I get rid of Tabernacle. I have Swords as an out to Archon now that I did not last game. And then maybe I just trim a random land or two. Get me to where I need to be. Or I could trim one Freestrider Lookout as well. I think I like that. Believe? Out to creature, out to creature, out to graveyard. It's awkward. Very, very awkward. I think I'm gonna try to believe. Land drop and pass. Gets more interesting when the thing that happens after Entomb happens. Atraxa. I think I am supposed to endurance the graveyard rather than try to swords and maze Atraxa. Yeah. This kind of takes away all of my immediate short-term resources. I lose the swords and endurance plus the green card that I pitched to it. I don't know that I'm actually scared as of right now, though. That's an interesting draw. Unsure if good, but definitely interesting. We'll tap down a land. Brainstorm. A Surveil land now. Junking a Daze. That's not castable right now. Not even with some Ghost Quarter nonsense. I think we're just getting a maze into play preemptively and porting our opponent. A Douthie Voidwalker. That is checked by Maze of Ith. And I have a backup Maze of Ith as well. That's not really a problem. Unless something weird like Pithing Needle were to happen. Caracas is interesting. I guess Atraxa is back in deck, right? So I guess things could happen. Play secondary Maze of Ith to better play around something like a Wasteland. And then we'll just have a grand old time. That's fine. I will take one. My opponent will have fewer creatures here than, say, the mono black opponents in previous rounds, so it will objectively be much harder for my opponent to go wide of the Maze of Iths. I'm only taking 1 damage per turn cycle right now, which is totally fine. My draws leave some things to be desired, though. Yeah. Entomb happens again. There's an Archon of Cruelty. If my opponent reanimates on their turn, they dodge my Bojuka Bog. Otherwise, I get to bog them. Which would be cool. That was random, too. That's super unfortunate. My opponent cast Entomb, so here we are. Dodges Endurance that I don't have green card for. Dodges Sorcery Speed Bojuka Bog. Yikes. I think I'm dead. Now this is just too much fair power, even if I answer the Archon. Maze 2 creatures. Take 5 per turn cycle. Not great. Alright. I can draw a Swords. Drawing a Swords does do a lot here. I'll discard the Bojuka Bog. I might need to Ghost Quarter my own stuff for green mana. And then we will maze the 3 remaining creatures. Take 2 plus the 3 from the original Archon trigger. Seiju not really doing it here. Gets me to my first green mana. Oh, I was supposed to port. Oh, that's not great. Oh, it looks like my opponent is going to let me maze, though. That's very kind of them. Maze you, and you. Archon trigger. I think I'm discarding Endurance. It is just not doing anything right now. So I'm going to go to 5. I could be at 2 instead. My opponent could have wastelanded a maze to push 3 more points of damage. Alright, well, honestly, that's just fucking rude. That was brutal. I mean, that was literally unlucky with the blind Metamorphosis Fanatic there. A lot of things did not break well for us that game. My opponent's going to play a bunch of mid-range threats. Choke becomes better. Freestrider Lookout might be better at the mid-range game, though. I don't think I'm going to choke. I don't think I'm going to Tabernacle either. This is fine, but it's only fine. This might be a shock to you all, but the Reanimator deck is really hard to beat because you have to respect Reanimator as early as turn 2, but also a very large number of Pivot Plan sideboard cards, ranging from take away all your mana to I'm just like a 5/6 fucker who digs through the graveyard and gains life. Let's Surveil land here, even though my opponent does have Harbinger of the Seas in their deck. I will take that. It's just some nice acceleration. I will Mox, Yonk, a Ganjo. And I think I just hold up Rashatenport here rather than cast Life from the Loam as a draw 2. I think I just don't want my opponent to be able to Entomb into Reanimate immediately. I guess I could just do it on their own turn. But I can deny mana if my opponent goes for something like a Surveil land. There is an Entomb or Archon. I will attempt to port you down. But I imagine that you have covered. You are willing to take this line, and especially getting the non-basic. I guess the Underground Sea lets you Entomb and Brainstorm in the entire turn cycle. Is it Reanimate? It is Reanimate. I'm going to let that come into play. I am not going to Swords immediately. I'm just going to discard a Life from the Loam, and then Swords once I'm playing around Daze. Yeah. So, attempt. It's Force of Will instead. Brutal. Life from the Loam. Maze. The other 2 lands don't matter that much. Yeah. Well, fuck me. Okay. That's cool. Like a hit for 9. Oh, wonderful. So I lose my Life from the Loam. I also can't get deeper with future Life from the Loams. Maze of Ith is not productive anymore. I'm going to take a natural draw. Hope it's Swords. No, I'm just literally dead. This is not going well, folks. Alright. I will keep this hand. We're playing against a Yorion deck of some kind. The greedier the mana base is, the better off I probably am. I will lead on Mox Diamond, probably just discarding Bojuka Bog. And go in on some land here. I don't super think it matters what it is. I'm going to grab Basic Forest because it's relatively free to do so. Oh, it is actual factual Death and Taxes. Alright, let's work on finding Maze of Iths and Tabernacles and such. I could play Urza Saga immediately. Not quite what I was intending on doing. Might be the direction that this game is going. Because conceptually, I would love to like go a Tabernacle taxation route, but it may just be better to attempt to kill my opponent. Their endgame is probably better than mine. That's a wastelandable land. That's great. 2 mana activate, 1 mana wasteland you. I think I'll just take a natural draw here. Hitting Exploration would be cool. Did not. I'll wasteland that shadowy back street. And then hold up some mana. If my opponent hypothetically misses a land drop, I might actually Expedition Map for Boseiju and get rid of the Vial. He did not miss a land drop. The Vial is still quite strong. I don't love converting it into a land, but my opponent might get a very real amount of value out of it if I leave it unchecked. I think it's just fine to murder my opponent, though. These construct tokens get big very, very, very quickly. If one just dies right now to something like a Swords before it gets any bigger. Does not, I will dredge. A Boseiju. Interesting. Yeah, I'm just Boseijuing that Vial now. Win eventually. I don't know. It's a very tough decision. And this is my first league on this specific deck. Oh, fuck, I forgot I had a Pithing Needle. Oops. And my line's bad. Alright. Yep, objectively, my line was just wrong. Doesn't matter, but it was a very, very bad play. And I own up to that. Swords in. These cards are okay. I don't think I want Force of Vigor. Sometimes I could play Endurance as just a dude. I actively do not want Sphere of Resistance in my deck. The swords are the necessary thing, and these remaining cards are playable. Crop rotation might be important. Maze of Ith for Kaldra, for example, is very important. Tabernacle for my opponent going wide is very important. I don't need Ghost Vacuum. That can exit my deck. Do I want to be able to Disruptor Flute Wasteland? It's less consistent in my opponent's Yorion version. Disruptor Flute has other text. I'll bring one in, I think, for sure. I could, like, play another one over a Bojuka Bog. Bojuka Bog discards to Mox Diamond. Like, go down 1 crop rotation to play another Disruptor Flute. That's kind of fine. I don't know the exact matchup approach without playing more. Oh, buddy. How many lands are we on? A gajillion? Like a gajillion. I believe This is an incredibly powerful hand if things go my way. I can see this Thoughtseize going a couple different directions here. I don't think it's crazy to take a Mox Diamond. I don't think it's crazy to take Swords. I don't think it's crazy to take Exploration. You don't take a life from the Loam unless you randomly have a Surgical in hand as well. I've lost the Swords. Did not hit a land immediately. This turn is now very difficult. I can get basic Forest, play Exploration, but then I can't cast Swords. I could hold up Swords off Mox Diamond. I could hold up Swords off Verdant Catacombs. I think I'm going to put the land into... I think I'm going to put the land into play and pass. And not make a committal decision to play Exploration. See what my opponent does. The issue is that Mox Diamond can run into things that blink. Ooh. Yeah. Do you know I have Swords? I think I Swords that now. Otherwise it becomes a problem if I do draw a land. And I will Mox Diamond here. That is a decision that you are legally allowed to make. I don't know why my opponent conceded. Just from a strategic standpoint, I don't think it makes sense to do that. Like, they saw my hand. Oh well. Alright, so what do we think about this deck at the end of the day? I feel very medium about it. I feel like we had a below average league, though, if I'm being honest. I think we only got Freestrider Lookout triggers in one round. I think we never made a zombie off of Field of the Dead. And I do not imagine that that is the average experience. It's possible that I dredged Life from the Loam too many times, and I should be taking random draws to try to find Freestrider Lookout. I want this deck to have more Ancient Tombs. Like, I want to be able to play Sphere on 1, or I want to be able to Freestrider Lookout on 1, or do it on 2 while doing something like Wastelanding to trigger it immediately. More Ancient Tomb means that Urza Saga is better as a standalone plan. Did not feel like crop rotation was particularly potent in this deck. I don't know that it's worth cutting either. Yeah, but we like never had a Freestrider Lookout in play for us to just like crop rotation, protect something with Talon Gates of Madara. That never came up. Feels like I need Swords to Plowshares in game 1 to be better prepared against just random decks that turn dudes sideways. But crop rotation for Bojukabug is one of my best game 1 ways to steal things back versus Reanimator. Obviously, with a few more leagues under my belt, I could play this better and have a better conceptualization of the role that I'm supposed to play in specific matchups and kind of solidify my sideboarding. But generally speaking, I am less impressed by this than by some of the other lands-based strategies that we have played recently. I don't think this deck is bad. I think we had a below average experience in the league, but I don't know that I would sink more of my time into this deck if I was, doing testing for a major tournament or something like that. This deck seems fine, but I don't know that the raw explosiveness is there that I might like. We don't have, the mana bond free wins that some of the other versions have. And I am still concerned about the colored mana count in the deck. There were a couple of risky hands where I kept something hoping that I would draw a land, and some of them worked out and some of them didn't. The highs that this deck is capable of are kind of nuts, though. Like that double Mox Diamond Life from the Loam opener, like, chef's kiss, that sort of stuff is amazing. But if you start going in on a Life from the Loam plan, Freestrider Lookout doesn't return to your hand with Life from the Loam. I think this one is probably a pretty well-built deck that's not for me. But if it's for you, and you need some cards, promo code ThrabenU saves you a little bit on your order, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!